I don't know who's going to hear this, or if anyone should, but if this recording ever makes it out of North Hollow, just understand something before you lean in closer. People think forests are quiet at night. They're not. They're never quiet. Even in winter, even under the thickest snow, the woods hum with their own kind of breath, a living rhythm, a pulse. But North Hollow was the first place I ever stood where the silence felt alive, where the stillness itself felt like it was holding its breath, waiting on mine. My name is Elias Hart, Minnesota State Park Ranger, badge number 4721. At least, that's what it says on the ID clipped to my shirt. I look at that badge sometimes now and wonder if it still belongs to me, if I'm still the one who earned it, who wore it before all of this happened, before the marsh started whispering back. You might have heard rumors about this park. A hiker disappears every couple of years, a camper goes missing without a trace. Locals tell stories around the bar how the woods don't like to let go of anyone who walks too close to the wetlands after sundown. Folktales, ghost stories. We all laughed at them during training. But the truth of North Hollow isn't a ghost story. Ghosts are simple, predictable. They haunt for reasons. What lives in that marsh doesn't haunt. It imitates. It studies. It learns. I didn't believe any of it at first. I was transferred here last November. Budget reshuffling, senior ranger retiring, the usual bureaucratic shuffle. I'd worked 4 parks before this one. I'd seen enough animal attacks, enough lost trekkers, enough midnight paranoia from cabin visitors to think I understood wilderness fear. But what I felt on my very first night at North Hollow wasn't fear of the woods. It was fear that the woods were aware of me. You have to picture the place. Tall black spruce leaning like old men over the trails, ground thick with dead needles that swallow footsteps whole. A marsh stretched across the center like a bruise, dark water coated in that papery winter sheen, the kind that cracks just a little when wind moves across it. And the wind, it never blew normally there. Always felt like it circled, looped, returned. My first shift was supposed to be uneventful, just a routine patrol along the perimeter, check the campgrounds, radio in at the top of every hour. Easy, comfortable. But every step felt like I was being watched by something standing just outside my flashlight beam, something tall enough to peer over the tree line. Don't go near the marsh after dark. That's what Ranger Dana Crowley told me, without even looking up from her clipboard. She said it like she was telling me not to microwave tinfoil. Basic. Obvious. Animals act strange there at night, she added when I pressed, but her hand trembled slightly when she clipped the radio to my vest. I should have listened better. I should have asked her why she had 2 radios, one clipped on, one shoved in the drawer, turned off and wrapped in what looked like canvas tape. I should have asked why the logbook for November 14th was scribbled out entirely except for the words, "Don't answer it." But I didn't. Because I was young and proud and stupid in the way only rangers with fresh winter boots can be. The first sign something was wrong came around 11:07 p.m. I was walking the North Ridge Trail just above the marsh. Not close enough to see the water, but close enough to smell that metallic wetland scent, the one like rust and rain-soaked leaves. The air turned thick, heavy. My flashlight dimmed even though the batteries were new, and somewhere to my left, something knocked on wood. But not random knocking. 3 taps, pause. 2 taps, pause. 3 again. Like a pattern, like a language. when I called it in, the radio crackled so violently I thought it might burst. And then, this part I replayed over and over in my mind, trying to rationalize it. The static shaped itself into a voice. My voice. Elias, don't look. I froze so hard I swear even my heartbeat stopped, because I hadn't said anything. My throat was tight, my mouth dry, but through the static came the same voice again, same tone, same cadence I hear now when I speak. Elias, you're here. Not real. Real. Not real. Not real. Real. Not real. I whispered that mantra under my breath without thinking. Maybe I'd heard it from some training exercise years ago. Maybe I invented it right then. But it didn't help. Because when I turned, slowly, too slowly, toward the marsh, every tree on the ridge seemed to lean another inch toward me. Watching. Waiting. Something stood between the branches. Tall. Still. Unmoving in a way no living creature can imitate. I only saw the outline, the suggestion of shoulders, a narrow head, arms hanging too close to the body. No features, no movement. A figure waiting for me to step too close. When I blinked, it disappeared. When I blinked again, the knocking started on the opposite side of the trail, and the radio whispered, "Come back." That's when I knew North Hollow wasn't like other parks, that the danger here wasn't wolves or thin ice or reckless hikers. Something in the marsh had noticed me immediately, and something wanted me to come closer. I should have resigned right then. I should have thrown the radio into the trees, walked back to the station, packed my duffel bag, and requested a transfer. But I didn't, because I thought I was hearing things. I thought my radio was malfunctioning. I thought none of this was real. But the marsh doesn't care what you think. It waits. It listens. It learns. And on my second night, it started calling me by the name only my father ever used. I hadn't heard that name in 15 years. No one alive still knows it. But the marsh did. The marsh knew it before I ever walked into North Hollow. Not real. Real. Not real. You can repeat that all you want. Just remember, something out there is whispering it back. And this recording, this confession, this is the last thing I have left that still feels like me. The official paperwork says my first day at North Hollow State Park started at 0800 hours, November 10th. That's cute. That's neat. Government loves numbers. But the part that matters, the part where the park noticed me, started around 1630, when the sun began sinking behind the black spruce and the light drained out of the world like someone dimming a switch. I stood at the main station window, looking out at the cabins and the trailhead signs. Everything was dipped in that flat gray-blue Minnesota twilight. You know the kind. It makes even familiar things look like cardboard cutouts, too still, too flat, too wrong. Behind me, Ranger Dana Crowley slid a keyring across the desk. "You listening, Hart?" she asked. "Yeah," I said, turning away from the window. "Sorry. Long drive." She studied me for a second, like she was cataloging me. Brown hair, mid-30s, too little sleep, too much coffee. A man who believed he understood what the woods could do to a person. "You came from Red Elk, right?" she asked. "Yeah. Before that, Clearwater." "Clearwater," she repeated, as if tasting the word. "Quiet place. Nothing like this." I smiled, trying to lighten the mood. "Dangerous picnic ants? occasional raccoon with an attitude problem. I think I can handle North Hollow. She didn't smile back. Instead, she tapped the keys. Bunkhouse, garage, generator shed, and this one, she said, lifting a single worn key on a faded red tag, is for the north maintenance cabin. You won't need that one. Why not? We don't use it, she said. Not anymore. I waited. That's the thing about people. When they say, not anymore, there's always a story. But she just turned and started for the door, grabbing her hat from the hook. Come on, daylight's dying. I'll show you the main trails. Outside, the cold slapped me in the face like a wet rag. The air smelled of pine, damp earth, and something metallic under it all, like rusty water. Dana walked ahead of me, boots crunching on gravel. The basics, she said. We got 3 main loops, ridge, aspen, marsh. Ridge is higher ground, good views. Aspen's flat, family-friendly, easy to navigate. Marsh, she trailed off. Marsh, I pushed. Marsh is where we tell people not to go alone, she said, especially after dark. I laughed. Because of the ghost stories? Her shoulders tensed just enough for me to notice. We've had 4 disappearances in 10 years, she said. All near the wetlands. No bodies, no gear, just gone. Could be mud, unstable ground, animal predation. Could be, she cut in. Doesn't help the families to say that when they're standing in our office holding a photo and shaking. We walked past the visitor bulletin board. There were standard notices, fire safety, trail maps, warnings about thin ice, and then there was a faded sheet, laminated and slightly warped. Stay on marked trails, it read. If you hear voices after dark, report to the ranger station. I pointed at it. That really necessary? People hear things out here, she said. They think someone's calling for help and then they go off trail. We put that up after... Well, just don't take it down. We followed a narrow path toward the ridge, the trees crowding closer with every step. Branches knitted together overhead, threading the sky with black limbs. The last light drained away, leaving only that dim, flat afterglow. The forest didn't feel welcoming. It felt like a room that had gone quiet when you walked in. Why'd the last guy leave? I asked. The last ranger? She said. Yeah, the one I'm replacing. She stopped walking. For a moment, the only sound was the dry rattle of branches shifting high above us. Then she said, He didn't leave. My boots scuffed to a halt. He transfer? I tried again. He went on patrol and didn't come back, she said. Search teams found his truck, his flashlight, his hat. No tracks. No sign of struggle, just nothing. Near the marsh, I guessed. She didn't answer. That was answer enough. Not real, real, not real. That little rhythm floated through my head again like a song I'd forgotten the words to. I shoved it away. Look, she said, and her voice softened just a bit. You put in for this assignment. I'm not here to scare you off, but you need to know North Hollow isn't like the others. People hear things out here. Voices, copies of voices they know. Sometimes their mom, their kid, a friend. Sometimes their own. The back of my neck prickled. Audio illusions, I suggested. Wind, sound bouncing off the trees. You get enough overlapping echoes, the mind can pattern match, fill in blanks. She turned to face me fully, eyes flat, unreadable in the half-light. Do you hear your father's voice when the wind blows? She asked quietly. My mouth went dry. How did you calm down? She said. Lucky guess. You look like a man who hears things he doesn't want to hear. This place just amplifies that. We reached a break in the trees where the land fell away in a gentle slope. Beyond it, the marsh spread out like a dark stain under the bruised sky. The water was barely visible behind the reeds, but I could feel it. Heavy. Watching. "There," she said. "That's Marsh Trail. We'll stay off it today." "Policy?" I asked. "Instinct," she replied. "Officially, it's allowed during daylight. Unofficially," she shrugged. "I tell newbies to give it time. Let the park get used to you before you introduce yourself to the ugly parts." "Parks don't get used to people," I said. "People get used to the park." She looked at me like I'd said something wrong. "Just stay off it at night," she said. "That's not a suggestion." We walked back in a slower silence. The darkness thickened between the trees, shaping itself into almost faces and almost forms. I told myself it was just my eyes adjusting, just my brain trying to complete incomplete shapes. I'd read about that, pareidolia, the mind's hunger for patterns. Not real. Halfway back to the station, the radios on both our chests crackled at once. We both paused. Dana lifted hers, brow furrowing. "Crowley here, go ahead." For a moment, there was just static, and then, underneath it, I heard a faint voice, thin, far away. "Help." It was barely more than a whimper, the sound of someone whose lungs had run out of fight. "Who is this?" Dana said sharply. "Identify yourself." The voice came again, slightly clearer. "Help me. I'm by the water. I can't." Dana's eyes flicked toward the marsh. Mine followed. "Which water?" she snapped into the radio. "Which trail? Give me a landmark." "I can't see," the voice choked. "It's so dark." Something about the way they said dark made my skin crawl, like the word itself didn't belong to them. "Dispatch, are you picking this up?" I asked, pressing my own radio. "We got a possible distressed hiker." Silence. Then a crisp, bored female voice replied, "Negative 4721. Line's clear. No outgoing distress calls. You sure you're not getting interference?" I looked at Dana. Her jaw clenched. "We're hearing a voice on both units," she said. "Check the repeater." "We're not transmitting anything on your channel," Dispatch replied. "Try a different frequency." Then, nothing. Just the soft hiss of dead air. Not real. Real. Not real. The whisper in my head was starting to bother me now. The voice came again, weaker. "I'm so cold. Please." Without thinking, I took a step toward the direction of the marsh. Dana's hand shot out, gripping my arm hard enough to bruise. "Don't," she said. "There's someone out there," I protested. "Maybe," she said. "Maybe not. You're not going into that marsh your first night. That's an order." "Then send someone else. Call." "There is no one else tonight," she snapped. "It's just us. And we're not going in blind after a voice we can't triangulate. You want to be a hero, Hart? You want to be the guy who runs toward every whisper in the dark? That's how you end up like the last one." Her face was close to mine, eyes hard, lips pressed thin. For a second, I hated her for it, for the caution, for the refusal. Then the voice on the radio changed. First, it sounded like static again. Then the static shifted, thickened, molded itself into syllables. "Elias." My name, in a tone that made my stomach flip. Not desperate, not weak. Pleased. "Elias, come here." It sounded like me. My own voice played back through a broken speaker. Every syllable in the exact rhythm I would have used. My grip tightened around the radio. My throat closed. Not real. Real. Not real. "Turn it off," Dana said. "What?" "Turn it Off. The voice continued, softer now, like it had moved further away from the microphone and closer to the water. You're almost here. My thumb hovered over the power switch. Elias, Dana said, and there was something in her tone I hadn't heard before. Not authority, not irritation. Fear. Turn it off. That's not a call. It's a hook. I switched the radio off. The forest swallowed the sound so completely that the absence felt louder than the static had. We stood there, the two of us, in the nearly dark November woods, breathing too loudly. Welcome to North Hollow, she said after a moment. Now do you understand why I said we don't answer everything we hear out here? I nodded, though I didn't understand. Not yet. But that was the first time the park said my name. The first time it wore my voice. And it never stopped after that. I barely slept that night. The bunkhouse was warm enough, the cot firm, the wool blankets thick with the smell of cedar and old detergent, but none of it mattered. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard that broken echo of my own voice leaking through the dark. You're almost here. Not real. Real. Not real. Around 3:40 a.m., I finally gave up and sat at the edge of the cot, elbows on my knees, listening. The bunkhouse was quiet in that heavy, unnatural way North Hollow seemed to specialize in. No heater hum, no building creaks, no wind against the siding. Just the sound of my own breathing. I told myself I wasn't afraid. Fear made no sense. Voices over radios distort, that's basic. Cold air affects transmission. Terrain shifts sound. All explainable, all normal. But I kept remembering the way Dana reacted. Not skeptical, not technical. Frightened. She'd been at North Hollow for years. People who work wilderness jobs don't scare easily. For her to react like that? Well, it was enough to keep me from turning the radio back on. I eventually lay down again, staring up at the bunkhouse rafters. Sleep came in thin, brittle strips. At one point, I swear I heard footsteps outside, slow ones, shuffling over gravel, stopping just short of the door. I held my breath, waiting for a knock or a handle turning or the soft scrape of someone testing the wood. Nothing. But I didn't sleep after that. By sunrise, my eyes felt grainy and my chest tight. The morning air was sharp enough to wake me fully when I stepped outside, the frost crunching under my boots. The sky was a washed-out white gray, the kind that always feels like a warning. Dana was already at the station porch, sipping coffee from a dented metal mug. She studied me over the rim. You look like hell, she said. Didn't sleep. Good. Means you're paying attention. I frowned. You want me tired? I want you alert, she corrected. There's a difference. She handed me a clipboard. Ridge trail check this morning. Should be straightforward. I scanned the form. Patrol boundary markers, check frost heave, note any new animal tracks, ensure snow fencing intact. Exactly. Stay on the trail, don't wander, don't go near the marsh. I'll be on Aspen. Still no sign of that voice from last night? I asked. No report, she said. Then, after a beat, and no missing persons filed. That should tell you something. What, that it was a prank? That something tried to get you to follow it. I stared at her. She didn't blink. You said it yourself, I reminded her. Could have been interference. Maybe, but interference doesn't say your name. She drained her mug. Get moving. Radio check every 30 minutes. I headed out, hands shoved deep into my gloves, breath clouding ahead of me. Ridge trail climbed gradually along a slope overlooking the marsh basin, though the foliage was thick enough that you couldn't see the water unless you went off-path, which I had no intention of doing. The forest was too quiet again. No bird song, no wind. Even the frost on the needles seemed to hold still, as if waiting for permission to fall. I kept to the marked path, my boots crunching rhythmically. By the 30-minute mark, I reached the northern overlook, a jut of exposed granite. I clicked the radio on. 4721 checking in. Copy. Dana's voice came through steady. All good? So far. You hear anything? I hesitated. Just my own breathing. You'd better, she said. Clicked off. I was turning to continue when something caught my eye, a dark shape in the trees downhill, maybe 30 yards away. Not moving. Not animal-like. More like a person standing behind a spruce trunk. I lifted my binoculars. When I focused on the spot, the shape was gone. Forest trick, I muttered. Light distortion, shadows. But my hands trembled slightly as I lowered the binoculars. I walked for another 20 minutes before I noticed something new. 3 perfect depressions in the frost, just off the trail. They looked like footprints, but wrong, too long, too narrow, no tread pattern. Almost like the idea of a footprint more than an actual one. I knelt and touched the frost. The depressions were warm. Warm. As if something had been standing there moments ago. Not real. Real. Not real. I radioed in. Dana, you nearby? What's wrong? She asked immediately. I found tracks. Maybe, not sure. Animal? No. A pause. Are you near the North Overlook? About a quarter mile past it. I'm coming to you. You don't need to. I'm coming, she repeated, tone sharp. I stayed put. The forest felt tighter somehow, as if leaning closer. I kept glancing back at the depressions, half expecting them to fill in or melt completely. When Dana arrived, her boots cut through the frost with fast, deliberate steps. She crouched beside the tracks and pressed her glove against one of the indentations. Her hand recoiled slightly. Warm, she said. Yeah. She scanned the tree line. Did you see anything? No, I lied. She exhaled slowly, a thin plume of vapor curling upward. You're sure? She asked. Positive. She either believed me or didn't want to push. We're heading back, she said, standing. Trail's compromised. What does that mean? Means something was watching you. My mouth went dry. Dana, don't argue. Move. We walked in silence, the frost crunching in steady rhythm under our boots. But halfway back, the radios crackled again. Dana froze. I froze with her. The static coiled into a voice, not mine, not hers. A man's voice. Older. Tired. Crowley, is that you? Dana stiffened so violently I thought she'd collapse. Who is this? She whispered. You left me, the voice said, warbling between static bursts, and it's dark. Dana, I can't find the trail. Her skin went pale beneath the dim winter light. Is that, I began. No, she said quickly. Too quickly. The voice came again, more broken this time, as though it were echoing through water instead of air. Cold. So cold. Dana shut her radio off. I didn't. I couldn't. I stood there, listening as the voice dragged each syllable through static. Elias. My blood iced. Turn around. Not real. Real. Not real. Dana slapped the radio out of my hand so hard it hit the frost and skidded into a patch of dead grass. "Don't listen to it," she snapped. "That voice, Dana, that voice knew your name." "It wasn't him," she said through clenched teeth. "It wasn't anyone." "Who was it then?" She looked toward the marsh, though it wasn't visible through the trees. Her jaw trembled once. "It's the marsh," she said softly. "And it's learning you faster than it should." My lungs tightened. Everything around us felt wrong, heavy, a pressure pushing inward from all directions. "We need to leave," she said. "Now." We hurried back toward the station. My heart thudded in my ears. The woods felt predatory, branches bending, shadows shifting, the air too still. Every few steps I thought I heard someone matching our pace just out of sight. By the time we made it to the clearing, I felt wrung out and hollowed. Inside the station, Dana slammed the door shut. "If your radio speaks again," she said, "you do not answer. You do not respond. You do not acknowledge it. Do you understand?" I swallowed hard. "Explain what's happening." She leaned against the desk, exhausted. For the first time, she looked less like a seasoned ranger and more like a hunted animal. "North Hollow isn't haunted, Elias," she said. "It's hungry. It calls out until someone listens. And once it knows your voice..." She didn't finish. She didn't need to. Because the radio, still lying on the ground outside, crackled faintly through the window. "The Elias?" My own voice. Soft, inviting. Closer than before, and too close to ignore. I didn't go outside to retrieve the radio. I wanted to. God, I wanted to, because leaving equipment lying in the frost goes against everything drilled into you as a ranger. But the sound of my own voice whispering through the static, no training covers that. No manual tells you what to do when the forest learns the shape of your breath. Dana locked the door, threw the deadbolt, and drew the blinds even though it was still daylight. The quiet between us stretched thin. "You said it's hungry," I finally murmured. "What does that mean?" She rubbed both hands over her face. For a moment, she looked like she might actually break. Then she straightened. "You want answers? Fine, but you're not going to like them. Try me." She nodded toward the back wall of the ranger station, where an old filing cabinet leaned crookedly in the corner. The paint was chipped, the top dented like someone had slammed it with something heavy. She walked over, pulled the bottom drawer open with some effort. Inside were logbooks, 20, maybe 30. Some saturated with water damage, some brittle at the edges. Some had pages torn out entirely. "These are the logs from the North Maintenance cabin," she said. "The one you told me I'd never need. The one no one should go near anymore." She dropped a stack of books on the desk. When the weight hit the wood, dust puffed around us in a thin, ghostly cloud. "What happened there?" I asked. She opened the top book. The handwriting was small, frantic, the kind of script someone writes when their hand won't stop shaking. "It started with voices," she said. "Always does. First it mimics people you know, then people you've forgotten, then people who never existed. It's like the marsh is feeling around inside your memories, trying out different shapes." "You're saying it's intelligent." "I'm saying it learns, it adapts. It listens to you listening to it." I stared at her. "That doesn't make any sense, Dana." Her laugh was hollow, humorless. "Nothing here makes sense, that's the problem." She flipped through a few more pages, dates, timestamps, and phrases repeated over and over. "Voices stronger today. Echo at 21:43 sounded like myself. Do not look at the water. It's remembering me. One entry was circled harshly, the ink carved deep into the page. Not real. Real. Not real. My breath hitched. That's, I whispered. I know, she said. You said the same thing last night. I had. I didn't even know why I'd started saying it. It just came like a reflex. My skin crawled. They all say that, Dana added quietly. Every ranger who starts hearing the marsh. They repeat it for weeks before disappearing. I tried to speak, but my voice felt thick, like the air itself didn't want the words leaving my throat. Disappear. How? I finally managed. No tracks, no signs of struggle. And the ones who go missing? She swallowed. Sometimes we hear them afterward. I felt the temperature drop around me. You said the last ranger didn't leave, I whispered. He didn't, she said. And 2 weeks after he vanished, his voice came through my radio. Begging, crying, whispering, apologizing. But it wasn't him. Not really. I pressed a palm to the desk to steady myself. Then what was it? Her eyes drifted toward the distant tree line visible through a crack in the blinds, as though the marsh itself might be leaning in to hear our conversation. We don't have a name for it, she said. Locals call it the echoer. Old folklore says the marsh can borrow what you are if you listen too long. Like it wraps itself around your voice, your memories, your shape. That's ridiculous. That's what I said the first year. She closed the logbook gently. But the echoer doesn't care what you believe. It only cares what you hear. Silence pressed between us, thick as the frost outside. Why hasn't the park shut down? I asked. Oh, they tried. She tapped another stack of logs. But the disappearances didn't always happen on trails. Some happened in staff housing. One ranger vanished walking from the bathroom to his room. Another disappeared while shoveling snow at the station front door. It doesn't matter if people are here or not. That sinking feeling in my stomach grew heavier, colder. So what do? I whispered. We manage it, she said. We avoid the marsh after dark. We monitor radios. We keep visitors on safe paths. We don't answer voices we shouldn't hear. And that works? It keeps things contained, mostly. Not real. Real. Not real. I pressed my palms to my eyes. Why didn't you tell me everything yesterday? Because you already heard it, she said. There's no going back now. Before I could respond, a sound drifted in from outside. Not footsteps, not wind. A faint knocking. Soft, rhythmic. 3 taps. Pause. 2 taps. Pause. 3 taps. My blood chilled. Dana froze. It's early for that, she whispered. What is it? I breathed. Don't answer, she said. I wasn't planning on it. Don't acknowledge it. The knocking continued, every pause squeezing tighter around my ribs. I stepped closer to the window before I could think better of it. Elias, Dana hissed. Don't. I'm not opening it, I said. I just want to look. Don't look. But I had already lifted the edge of the blind just enough to peek outside, just enough for the cold to lick my skin. The frost-coated clearing was empty. No person, no animal. Nothing that could be making that deliberate knocking. Then the sound shifted. It started coming from the opposite wall, then near the door, then horribly, right behind me. My spine locked. Dana didn't breathe. Elias, the knocking seemed to whisper through the wood grain itself. Almost here. It wasn't a voice, not exactly. More like a shape inside the sound, a suggestion of speech. A moment later, the radio outside crackled again. Through the static, a single, warped syllable slipped through. Turn. I stumbled backward, knocking into the desk. Dana grabbed my shoulders. Listen to me. It's getting bolder. It shouldn't be this close to you yet. Why? I gasped. Why me? I don't know, she said. But the marsh picks people. And once it picks you, the lights flickered. Once, twice. Turn around. This time, the word wasn't whispered. It was spoken, right behind my left ear, close enough that I felt the breath that wasn't breath at all. I didn't turn. I couldn't. My entire body locked like a trap. Dana pulled me toward the back room, slamming the door behind us. Stay with me, she ordered. Whatever happens, stay with me. My voice shook. It said, I know what it said. What does it want? She looked at me, something broken flickering in her eyes. It wants to learn you. I don't remember sitting down, but somehow I ended up on the floor of the back storage room, knees drawn up, staring at the far wall like it might start speaking. Maybe I expected it to. Everything else in North Hollow seemed eager to. Dana paced the cramped room, rubbing her hands together as if trying to scrub off something invisible. Her breath came in shallow puffs. It shouldn't have gotten that close, she muttered. Not yet. Not this fast. Stop saying that, I rasped. Stop saying yet. What does that mean? How fast is fast? What's the timeline here? She didn't answer. Dana. She looked at me like she was deciding how much truth I could survive. You heard it on your first night, she said. That's rare. Most rangers just feel watched for a while, feel observed, maybe hear faint voices on the wind. It mimics gradually, slowly. It eases in. Eases in? I said, voice cracking. Like what? Like a negotiation? Like a predator, she said. That word landed heavier than I expected. Predators take. They stalk, they test, they circle. And when does it finish? I asked. She shook her head. There's no finish. There's just the moment someone stops resisting. I leaned back against a shelf of old emergency blankets. The metal frame vibrated slightly beneath me. It took me a second to realize the vibration wasn't the shelf. It was my hands. You said it learns people, I whispered. How? Why? What does it want? Dana crouched down so we were eye level, and for the first time since arriving in North Hollow, she looked genuinely helpless. We don't know what it is, she said softly. We don't know where it came from. We don't know why the marsh is the way it is, but whatever lives in that water, it listens, it imitates. It shapes itself around the voices it hears most often. So it's copying me. No, she swallowed hard. It's becoming you. I stared at her. That's not possible. Neither is hearing yourself over a radio you turned off, she snapped. But here we are. Not real. Real. Not real. The mantra pulsed behind my eyes again, unbidden. I squeezed them shut. You said other rangers heard that phrase? I murmured. Not real. Real. Not real. Why? Why that? It's a symptom, she said. A sign the marsh is testing boundaries. Folks get stuck in that loop when they're trying to anchor themselves, trying to decide what's real and what isn't. Do they ever decide? Her silence answered for her. The building creaked suddenly, not like normal foundation settling. This was sharper, directional, a weight shifting along the roof. Dana shot to her feet. "No," she whispered. "Not this close, not during the day." Something scraped across the shingles, slow, deliberate, like fingernails or branches or something dragging itself. We held our breath. Silence returned like a held inhale. Then, a soft, almost polite tapping at the back window. My skin turned to ice. Dana stepped between me and the window, her voice low and controlled. "Don't answer. Don't move. Don't speak." The tapping came again, a little faster this time, a little closer together. 2 taps. Pause. 3 taps. Pause. A rhythm that made my stomach twist with familiarity. "What does it want?" I whispered. Dana didn't look back at me. "For you to acknowledge it." It tapped a final time, closer, right at the window seam. Then silence swallowed everything. Dana peered through a slit in the blinds. "Is it there?" I breathed. She exhaled, shaky. "No, but that's not good news." "What do you mean?" "If it's not trying to be seen," she said, stepping back, "it's trying to be heard." The radio on the main desk crackled from the other room. We both whipped toward the sound. The radio was off. "Stay here," Dana ordered. "Like hell," I said, scrambling after her. We reached the front room. The radio lay on its side where she had thrown it earlier, but it vibrated softly as if something inside it was shifting. The static deepened, thickened, took on a wet, gurgling undertone. "Elias." I flinched backward. "Stop listening," Dana said sharply. "I'm not trying to." The static shifted again, this time forming a second voice layered under the first. "Crowley, you left me. You left me in the dark." Dana's breath hitched. "That's him," I whispered. "The ranger who vanished." "No," her voice cracked. "No, it's not." The voice on the radio coughed wetly, a choking, bubbling sound like lungs full of marsh water. "Cold. So cold. I can't see. I can't see." Dana slammed her fist onto the power switch, but the static kept going. The device shouldn't even have been functional. The voice changed again, shifted tone, shifted texture. Then another voice emerged, soft, quiet, unsettlingly clear. My father's voice. "Eli, son, why didn't you come home?" I staggered backward so fast I hit the filing cabinet. "That's impossible," I whispered. "He's dead." My throat closed. "He died when I was 20. He can't." "Elias," Dana grabbed my shoulders. "It's not him." The voice changed yet again, warping, blending, smoothing itself until it became unmistakable. My own voice. "Turn around." I froze. Dana's grip tightened painfully. "Do not turn around." I didn't move. Couldn't move. My whole body locked like it had been poured in cement. The voice spoke again, now directly behind my right ear, not from the radio at all. Close. Wet. Breathing without breath. "I'm learning you." My vision tunneled. The room spun. Not real. Real. Not real. Dana yanked me toward the supply closet, pushed me inside, and shut the door. She braced her shoulder against it, holding it closed. "Listen to me," she said through the darkness. "You cannot respond to it, not even in your mind. Do you understand?" I tried to inhale, but my lungs wouldn't cooperate. "Dana, it's talking like it knows me." "It knows what you give it," she said, "and you've already given it too much." The radio outside crackled one last time. Then silence fell. Complete, total, predatory. I didn't hear anything else for several minutes. Then, faintly, so faintly I wasn't sure it was real, a whisper drifted through the vent above us. "Almost ready." I don't remember how long we stayed in that dark storage closet. Time didn't move normally in North Hollow. It stretched, thinned, tangled around the sounds that weren't sounds at all. My heartbeat thudded loud enough I worried whatever was outside could hear it. Dana kept her weight braced against the door, her silhouette barely visible in the sliver of cold light leaking through the bottom crack. Every so often she flinched at something I couldn't hear. Or maybe she heard nothing and flinched anyway. Silence in that place was never empty. Silence was a shape. Eventually she whispered, "Elias, we can't stay in here." "I'm fine with that," I whispered back. "We can stay in here forever if you want. I'll learn to eat dust." "Don't joke," she said. "Fear is listening." That shut me up. When she finally eased the door open, she did it slow enough the hinges barely sighed. The front room was empty. The radio lay exactly as it had before, muted, still, innocent-looking. The window blinds were shut. The knocking had stopped. The scraping on the roof had faded. But the air was wrong again. Too thick, like wading through invisible water. "Follow me," Dana whispered, motioning me toward the back exit. "We're leaving the station. It's safer outside now." "That can't be true," I hissed. "The thing is out there. We heard it." "And in here," she said. "At least outside we have space to move." I didn't argue. I didn't have the strength left to. We moved quietly, boots muted against the worn wood floor. When she opened the back door, a slice of cold air knifed across my face. Frost sparkled on the grass, stiff and untouched. For a moment, everything felt motionless again, waiting, watching. "Stay close," Dana murmured. We walked toward the maintenance path running behind the station. I kept scanning the tree line, expecting something tall and ice-pale to be standing between the pines. But nothing moved, nothing shifted. The forest was a frozen photograph. When we were 20 yards from the building, the wind suddenly swept through the clearing, soft at first, then sharper. Branches rattled, pine needles whispered. The first normal sounds I had heard in hours. Dana slowed. Her shoulders relaxed fractionally. "It's pulling back," she said. "That's good. It means we have a window." "A window for what?" "Breathing." She glanced at me. "And choices." We walked until the Marsh Trail sign came into view. Its wooden post leaned slightly, weather-beaten, the carved lettering warped with age. Beneath it, the wetlands stretched out like a dark lung, filling the air with the smell of rot and cold water. A thin layer of mist skimmed the marsh surface, even though the rest of the forest was crisp and clear. Mist that didn't waver with the wind. "We're going near that?" My voice pitched higher than I intended. "No," Dana said quickly, "not close. But you need to understand what's happening, Elias. You need to see how far it's spread." She pointed. Near the water's edge, the reeds shivered. Not all of them, just a narrow, circular patch. Something beneath them moved. Slowly. Intentionally. "What is that?" I whispered. "The place where it listens," she said. "The place where it learns." As she said it, a ripple unfurled across the water, moving outward from the reed circle in perfect concentric waves. Not like wind, not like an animal disturbing the surface, more like a breath, a large, slow inhale beneath the marsh. I stepped back instinctively. It's alive. Alive isn't the right word, Dana said quietly. Aware might be closer. And you've been working here for years? I didn't choose to, she murmured. I tried to transfer out 3 times. Paperwork never went through. They kept me here because I'm the only one who's lasted. And why is that? I asked. She didn't answer. Or maybe she didn't know the answer. We began backing away toward the ridge tree line, careful not to turn our backs fully. I didn't trust the marsh not to shift closer the moment we stopped looking. Not real. Real. Not real. The mantra throbbed quietly against the inside of my skull like a heartbeat that wasn't mine. I swallowed hard, pushing the words away. You said it shouldn't know me this quickly, I murmured. What changed? Dana stopped walking. Her voice was low. Elias, did you ever answer a voice in the woods before you came here? No, I said. Never. Her gaze sharpened. Are you sure? I hesitated, because the truth was, I wasn't. In Clearwater, there had been times during fog-heavy mornings when I thought I heard my name drifting from the tree line, times I chalked up to sleep deprivation or imagination. I'd called back once or twice thinking it was a lost hiker. I'd forgotten about that until right then. When I didn't respond, Dana's expression changed. Oh God, she whispered. It didn't pick you here. It picked you before you arrived. A chill rippled through me. Dana, I said, voice unsteady, are you telling me the marsh followed me? I don't know, she said, but it recognized you immediately. That shouldn't happen unless you'd heard it before, or something like it. The trees shifted slightly as the wind died. Everything fell silent. Then, something tall moved between 2 black spruce trunks. A shape. A silhouette. Long limbs, narrow torso, head tilting at an unnatural angle. I blinked. It blinked. Or rather, its entire body flickered once, like a glitch in a corrupted film reel. Back away, Dana murmured. Do not speak. Do not think your name. Do not. The shape stepped forward, and in the dim morning light, I saw myself. Not fully, not clearly, but enough. The posture, the height, the curve of the jaw, a distorted mimicry of me, as if sculpted from fog and shadow and memory. Its arms hung too close to its sides, its neck elongated slightly as it leaned forward. My voice came from its shape, quiet, broken, layered. Elias. I stumbled backward. My boots slid in the frost. Dana grabbed my jacket before I fell. It's not real, she whispered. Not real, not. The creature's head jerked sharper than any human movement should allow. Then it whispered again. I'm almost you. I felt my mind split down the center. That was the moment I understood something fundamental. The marsh wasn't just copying my voice. It was rehearsing me. Dana dragged me back toward the station clearing. The mimic tilted its head again, watching, learning, practicing. The woods seemed to bend around it. Go! Dana shouted. We ran, boots slamming the frozen ground until the shape vanished behind the trees. But even as I ran, I felt it. The sense that my reflection was still standing there long after my body had fled, watching me leave, studying the movement, repeating it silently in the dark. We didn't stop running until the ranger station came back into view, a squat wooden shape breaking the endless line of trees. My lungs burned, each inhale sharp and metallic in the cold air. Dana slowed first, grabbing my arm and pulling me down behind the woodpile beside the station. We crouched, hiding, listening. My pulse thundered in my ears, drowning everything else out. It took several seconds before the world came back into focus. "Did it follow us?" I whispered. "I don't know." Her voice quivered despite her effort to steady it. "But it won't rush. That's not how it works." "How does it work?" "It waits," she said. "It studies. And when you start questioning what's yours and what's not, that's when it takes." I tried to breathe through the panic. My breath fogged out in harsh bursts. "Elias," she said, gripping my shoulder. "Look at me. Stay here. I'm going to check the perimeter." "No," I hissed. "Dana, you shouldn't be out there alone." "You shouldn't either," she said. "But I'm the one with experience." She stood before I could argue, slipping around the building's corner. I pressed my back to the cold logs, listening for her footsteps. 1 step. 2. 3. Then silence. The kind of silence you feel in your teeth. The station suddenly felt too small, too exposed. The air pressed against the walls like a held breath. I reached for my radio, only to remember it was still lying in the frost where she'd knocked it away hours ago. That was when the whisper returned. Not from behind me, not from the woods, from inside my own head. "Elias." I squeezed my eyes shut. Not real. Real. Not real. But the whisper grew clearer, nearer. It echoed through my skull like someone tapping a fingernail against bone. "You're learning me, too." I jerked upright, dizziness flooding my vision. "No," I breathed. "No, no, no." From around the corner, footsteps approached, quick, purposeful. "Elias," Dana whispered urgently. "Inside, now." I scrambled after her. We ducked through the station's back door and she slammed it behind us. "Did you see it?" I asked, voice cracking. "No," she said, pacing, "but something's wrong. The marsh. Something's shifting out there. The pressure's changing." "What does that mean?" "It means it's close to fully manifesting." My stomach turned. Fully what? She looked at me, eyes hollowed by exhaustion and fear. "When the echoer learns someone completely," she said slowly, "it becomes them, or a version of them. And the real one," she exhaled shakily, "the real one stops being real." My knees nearly buckled. "What happens to the real one?" "I don't know," she whispered. "They vanish. They're erased. I've never seen one come back." I grabbed the desk for support. My fingers trembled violently. The room swayed. "Dana," I whispered, "I just saw something wearing me. It looked like—" "I know what it looked like," she said. "But that wasn't you. It's trying to split you, break your sense of self." She stepped closer, voice low. "You must not let it." "How?" I asked helplessly. "How do you hold on to yourself when something is out there rehearsing the way you stand?" Dana opened her mouth to respond, but froze. A shadow slid across the window blinds. Not a branch, not a trick of light. Human-shaped. Familiar-shaped. I felt it in my bones before I understood it. "Elias." This time the voice wasn't in my head. It drifted through the cracked window frame, soft, coaxing, patient. Dana yanked me backward before I could look. "Do not go to the window," she hissed. Something tapped lightly against the glass. 3 taps. Pause. 2 taps. Pause. My heartbeat stuttered. That rhythm. That impossible rhythm. "It learned your pattern," Dana whispered. "Your knock. That's what it uses to lure." "I never knocked like that," I protested. "You thought about it," she whispered. "That's enough." I covered my ears, but it didn't matter. The knocking came again, closer. "Let me in." My voice, but smoother, fuller, like a perfected version, the kind of voice I wished I had. "Dana," I gasped. "Why is it doing this?" "It's ready for you," she said, "or close to." "Ready for what?" I backed away from the window, breath shaking. She didn't answer, because the window blinds began to bend inward, as if something was pressing its face against them from the outside. The whisper came again, quieter now, almost gentle. "It's easier if you stop resisting." I pressed my back to the opposite wall. Dana moved beside me, drawing a long, shaky breath. "Listen to me," she said. "It wants you to think it's inevitable, but it isn't. The echoer doesn't take people who don't acknowledge it." "I haven't acknowledged anything." Her eyes flicked to mine. "You looked at it," she said, "and it looked back." My stomach dropped. The blinds pulsed, pushed inward slightly, just enough to reveal the outline of a head on the other side. "Turn around, Elias." This time, the voice came from behind me. Behind me. I spun toward Dana, but she wasn't looking at me. She was looking past me, over my shoulder. Her face drained of color. "Elias," she whispered, "don't react." I froze. I didn't breathe. Something stood inches behind me, close enough I felt pressure in the air, like gravity bending toward it. A distorted echo of my voice murmured, "I can be you better than you." My throat closed. My vision blurred. I tasted iron. Not real. Real. Not real. Dana grabbed me and shoved me into the supply hall. "Run!" I stumbled forward. "We can't outrun it." "We don't have to," she said. "We just have to get to the cabin." "What cabin?" "The one I said you'd never need." She threw open the back door again and pulled me into the freezing air. Behind us, the station door rattled violently. Something inside growled in a voice that was almost mine. "Come back." We ran toward the dark of the trees, toward the cabin I'd been told to avoid, toward whatever terrible truth lived there. The marsh whispered behind us, pleased, almost singing. Dana didn't wait for me to catch my breath. She dragged me through the trees, her grip iron tight, her steps frantic yet deliberate. Frost cracked beneath our boots in sharp little bursts. Each sound felt too loud, like the woods might punish us for disturbing their surface. "Dana, slow down," I gasped. "No," she said. "It's close. If you slow down now, it wins." Behind us, the forest shifted. That's the only way I can describe it. Not branches snapping or leaves rustling. An entire pressure change, like the air thickening in anticipation. A living inhale waiting to exhale something terrible. We pushed deeper into the trees until the outline of the north maintenance cabin emerged from the dimness. A sagging, forgotten structure. The windows were boarded from the inside. The door frame was warped, swollen, like the wood had been trying to hold something in or something out. I froze. Dana? This place. What happened here? She didn't meet my eyes. The last ranger who wrote those logs, you remember them? He came here the night before he vanished. Thought he could trap it. Thought he could understand it. And? She swallowed. The cabin recorded his last hours. Not on tape. In the wood. I stared at her. Just go inside, she whispered. The door creaked open with a long, uneasy sigh. Inside, the air felt colder than the forest. Heavy, saturated, like walking into a place where sound had died long before we arrived. I stepped past the threshold and the world changed. The inside walls were carved over with scratches, thin, desperate lines running in frantic spirals, looping around windows, doors, the ceiling, like someone tracing shapes they didn't want to forget, or like someone trying to scrape themselves out of their own mind. "Dana," I whispered, "don't close the door." She closed the door. The click of the latch echoed like a gunshot. "We're safe for a moment," she said. "It can't mimic what it can't see, and right now, the cabin confuses it." That's not comforting. It shouldn't be. I walked deeper inside. My flashlight beam skimmed across a table with deep gouges in its surface, words scratched in frantic slants. "Don't look at the water. It remembers. Not real. Not real. Not real. It's learning me. Don't let it see you think." The last line made my stomach twist. "What does that mean?" I whispered. Dana exhaled shakily. "It means the echoer learns faster when you think about it, when you fear it, when you imagine what it might look like." I backed away from the wall. "Dana, I've been thinking about it constantly." "I know," she said, "and so does it." Something thumped against the outside wall. We both went still. Another thump, closer this time, sliding across the boards like a hand searching for a gap. Then a voice drifted through the woodwork. "Elias." My name, drawn out, almost fond. "You left me." Dana braced herself, whispering, "Don't react." But the voice was relentless. "I'm here. I found you." Then another voice layered under it, Dana's voice. "Let him out." I shook my head, backing away slowly. "That's not you." "No," she whispered, "but it wants you to believe it could be." The thumping grew louder. Something massive dragged itself along the outer wall. Boards shuddered, dust rained from the rafters. I felt it. Felt the moment the echoer reached the door. A weight leaned against it, not trying to break in, simply resting, waiting. "Elias, come home." I pressed both palms to my temples. It's speaking like it knows everything. Like it's finishing you, Dana whispered. It has enough of your voice to mimic, enough of your posture, enough of your fear. The door handle twitched. Once, twice, slowly turning. Dana lunged forward and shoved a heavy metal shelf against it. The handle stopped mid-turn. The echoer whispered through the crack in the wood. "I can be you better." I stumbled backward, breath shuddering out in uneven bursts. The cabin's walls felt too close. The words carved into them pulsed with meaning. "Don't let it see you think." And for the first time, I understood. "It's not just copying us," I whispered. "It's replacing us." Dana looked at me with a grief I couldn't place. "Yes. And you You've been keeping this inside for years? Yes. And all the rangers before me? Yes. I felt dizzy. We can't stay here. It knows where we are. We're not staying, she said. We're waiting. For what? For your double to finish forming. My heart slammed against my ribs. What? I gasped. Why would we wait for that? Because, Dana said softly, when it fully becomes you, something else happens. The wind outside howled sharply, cutting through the trees like a warning. What happens? I whispered. She didn't answer. The thumping against the door stopped. Every sound outside ceased. And then, a single voice, perfectly crisp, perfectly calm, spoke through the door. My voice. Dana, open the door. It's me. She stiffened. Don't listen. I'm cold, it said. Please, let me in. Then something inside me cracked, because the echoer wasn't trying to sound like me anymore. It was me. Same cadence, same breath, same tiny rasp on the edges of my vowels from years of dry winters. I watched Dana's face twist in anguish. She whispered, almost to herself, It's complete. My knees buckled. What does that mean? It means, she lowered her head, it's not the copy that leaves. I stared at her. What? Before she could explain, the door cracked, not breaking, just bending inward, like something was leaning against it with an unnatural patience. I'm ready now. Dana grabbed my wrist, squeezed hard, and whispered, Elias, don't forget who you are. I'm trying, I breathed, but it won't stop. Then you must, she whispered, because the moment you forget. The humming grew louder, the boards flexed, the cabin trembled. It becomes real. My vision blurred, the world tilted, sound folded over itself, wind, breath, static, whispers layering into one suffocating mass. And the last thing I remember before the blackout was the echoer's voice, my voice, whispering through the collapsing wood. You're not Elias anymore. When I woke, I was in the infirmary. Bright lights, clean sheets, a supervisor standing over me with a clipboard. You had a panic incident, he said. No search, no missing hikers, no second ranger on staff that night. North Hollow's quiet this time of year. I tried to sit up. Dana Crowley, where is she? He frowned. Who? The senior ranger. She was with me. There's no one here by that name, he said. You've been working alone the past 3 nights. My blood went cold. No, I whispered. No, she was real. She talked to me. She saved me. He pressed a gentle hand to my shoulder. Rest. The mind plays tricks, especially in winter. But behind him, on the linoleum floor, muddy footprints led from the infirmary door to my cot. 2 sets. One matching mine, the other slightly taller, slightly longer, slightly wrong. The supervisor left eventually. The lights dimmed, the room fell quiet. Too quiet. I heard paper shift on the bedside table, then a soft, familiar voice whispered right behind my ear. Elias. I didn't turn. I didn't breathe. Not real. Real. Not real. The whisper came again, closer now, satisfied. And if you're hearing this, it already knows you. You don't believe me, do you? Silence.